Manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Locked down!
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Get robbed!
Only on
The Fan Upstate.
Let's get it, y'all. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Howdy, everybody. How y'all doing? Everybody good? Monday, June 5th, 2023, and it is a beautiful day in the neighborhood because the boys are back in town. Good to be with you. Hope you had a lovely weekend, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Brown. On the opposite side of the metaphorical glass today is not the great one, Lonzo, because he is somewhere right now in a Speedo, in the sun, over on the east side of the Palmetto State of South Carolina. Instead, the illustrious Brandon joining us here on the show. What's up, big fella?
Okay, that image of a Lonzo in a Speedo, thank you.
Don't
Forever burning my mind.
Listen, I just want him to be comfortable, that's all.
Let's get it. It's Monday morning. Let's get it, Rob.
I just want Zoe to be living his best life, and I'm sure he is. Solid red Speedo and Crocs. That's how Lonzo's rolling today. I have no doubt. Great to be with you, folks. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for hanging out. 3 hours of Hall of Fame caliber radio coming your way and starting right this very second. And we, folks, have exactly zero shortage of things to talk about on the radio broadcast today. The Clemson Tiger baseball team, a baseball team that had been rolling, earning an ACC tournament championship this year, will not be playing in the Super Regionals as they got bounced last night. We're going to talk about that. On the flip side, a team that for the past 6 weeks couldn't hit the ocean from a boat, the South Carolina Gamecocks, are moving on to the Super Regionals. And not only are moving on to the Super Regionals, could very well be hosting a Super Regional if the Gators of Florida find themselves on the wrong end of a score sheet today with the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Columbia could be the site of a Super Regional. So what went wrong for Los Tigres? What went right for the Gamecocks? We're going to break that down later in the show. Last night in the NBA Finals, game number 2, Denver had everything in their game plan that got them so many dubs at the house. In fact, all of the dubs at the house until last night. Everything they did in late game up until last night suddenly went wrong. And the Miami Heat, a team that was like plus 350 to win the NBA Finals, has now stolen home court advantage away from Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. So what the hell went wrong for Denver? What went so right for Miami? I got that for you. Ladies and gentlemen, you are all aware that I'm a big Shane Beamer fan. Shane Beamer, friend of this program, has been on this show before. Good guy. Love Shane. I got 2 stories that I am going to be talking about involving Shane Beamer directly today. And unfortunately, neither of them is going to allow me to bestow upon him the accolades that I usually do. I'm going to tell you what those 2 stories are coming up here in just mere minutes from now. And of course, we have got to talk some National Football League because there's a litany of Carolina Panther stories that we need to get to, mostly about Bryce Young, but we got a few other ones. I didn't get hit this weekend. I was, as a matter of fact, Saturday evening, the fiancé and I headed over to Furman Paladin Stadium, where we went to watch the Greenville Triumph play at home against Tormenta in the Peach State Derby. And aside from a very disappointing, I think is how I'll put it, a very disappointing finish because a referee decided that he needed to make it about him. We'll come to that later in the show. I was having a discussion at the tailgate party before the game began. The Reader River Right, there was a dope little tailgate before all Greenville Triumph games. You guys should come by and say hi. I'm at all of them. We were having a discussion with a friend of mine / P1 listener. And he said, Rob Brown. He didn't say my name to start the conversation. That would have been weird. We're friends already. But I'm giving you the paraphrase version of the conversation. He said, Rob Brown, while you are very handsome, charming, and good at the radio, I do have a question for you. And I said, great, fire away. And he said, why is it that when I'm listening to sports talk radio, and of course, Rob Brown, because you are handsome, charming, and good at the radio, your show all 3 hours every weekday, but I do listen to other shows as well. He says, why is it that outside of a few podcasts, every time I turn on the radio, the discussion is centered around Bryce Young? He said, why are we not talking about any of the other players? Why are we not talking about Adam Thielen? Why are we not talking about Brady Christensen? Why are we not talking about Brian Burns? Why are we not talking about Frankie Louvu? And I said, thank you for the compliment, because I do believe I am handsome, charming, and good at the radio. I said the reason why is very simple. It is because the National Football League is a quarterback-driven league. And that is the first answer, the last answer, and the only answer. It is a league that is driven by your quarterback. Again, if we go back through the list of Super Bowl champions, when's the last time that you would say the Super Bowl was won by anything less than a top 5 quarterback? Was it Kansas City? Was it the Rams? No. When was the last Super Bowl that was not won by a great quarterback? Was it Tampa Bay with Tom Brady? No. Mahomes? No. Tom Brady again? No. Who was it? Because I don't know the answer. I've got one texter.
It's the Steelers.
Okay. I got one texter. James said Denver over Carolina. I don't know about that. You Brady before that. Russ before that. I don't know. I don't know. So it's a quarterback-driven league. And there are other, obviously, you've got to be good at every aspect of the game. But the NFL has become so quarterback-driven that here's the reality. The Carolina Panthers, Brandon, have built a very good roster, in my opinion. A couple of spots could use some work. I think outside edge rusher is big, although it's not as big as people are making it out to be, because with Ejiro, they're going to lean on the 3-4, not the 4-3. And in the 3-4, your linemen are more about eating up blocks and establishing the line to allow your free-running linebackers to get where they need to be. I think they could use a little bit of help still in the defensive backfield, though they're not nearly as bad as everybody says that they are back there. I think Jason Horn, if he's able to stay healthy, is one of the best 6 or 7 cornerbacks in the league. I think they can use potentially an upgrade at running back to an elite caliber running back. There is one in the mix right now. I'm going to tell you about that later in the show. And I think that they are still looking for a true number one, which is why later on in the show, we are going to be asking a little bit about DeAndre Hopkins and whether or not he makes sense. Because while I would love it to be Devontae, you don't have the capital for that. We'll get to all of that later in the show. You can't succeed without a quarterback, which means no matter how good the roster is built around him, Brandon, if Bryce Young does not turn out to be what the Carolina Panthers hope he turns out to be, the Panthers will be muddled in obscurity for some time. That's the answer. That's why every conversation is centered around Bryce Young. Because if Bryce Young is everything that the Panthers wanted him to be when they drafted the guy, that they're going to be in a real good spot. If Bryce Young tanks, if his size does truly turn out to be a limiting factor, then the Carolina Panthers will be in trouble. But if he turns out to be the guy that Frank Reich and Scott Fitterer and David Tepper and all these other cats have clamored on and on that he is, the Cats within 2 years could be a threat not to win the NFC South, Brandon, to win the NFC.
Okay, I agree with you on that one. I think that I agree with you. They're one, maybe two pieces away from becoming the team they can become, which is a Super Bowl caliber team. But then that question does come out: is what is going to be about Bryce Young? Is he going to be this savior of all for the Carolina Panthers, or is he going to be the next Sam Darnold? Who knows? We don't know yet. And obviously, the biggest thing everybody focuses on is his size.
And why wouldn't you? The guy is beyond shorter than so many other quarterbacks that are listed as short quarterbacks. Shorter than Russell Wilson. He's shorter than Drew Brees, right? We talk about Drew Brees as the guy who broke the mold. You can be short and succeed if you are as accurate as Drew Brees. But the reality is the list of quarterbacks that are as accurate as Drew Brees is very short. It's very short. You have got to have something special about you to be that short and succeed. You just do. You don't have to you can't be average and 5'10". If you're going to be 5'10", you have to be 5'10" with a skill set that would make a 6'4" quarterback Tom Brady, right? You've got to have Tom Brady-esque skills to play as a 5'9.5", 5'10" quarterback. The list of guys able to do that is incredibly short. Breeze, somebody just texted the text line and said, Patrick Mahomes is doing it right now. Y'all, Patrick Mahomes is 6'1.5", right? I think everybody looks at Patrick Mahomes and sees a short quarterback. He is not a short quarterback. He's not as tall as the other guys in that elite category, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, etc. But he's 6'1.5". His Kansas City's got him listed as 6'2".
How tall is Kyler Murray?
Kyler Murray is taller than Bryce Young by about an inch. He's listed as 5'11", so he's probably going 5'10". But I would also point out that Kyler Murray isn't exactly being defined as elite by anybody. By anybody. Listen, we're going to be, again, talking about DeAndre Hopkins coming up in a little while, a guy who just got released straight up by the Arizona Cardinals. I am now convinced that the reason he wanted out is Kyler Murray, because he's looking at that offense and the absolute boat show that is the Cardinals, and he's going, this roster is bad. The coaching staff is the fattest question mark in the game right now. The ownership is questionable. There's not a lot going on here. Why would I stay here unless I had an elite quarterback? And let's be real, I don't. So why would we go from here? Why would I stay here? Why would I not go from here? And the answer is I wouldn't, and he did. So is Carolina in the mix for him? I don't know. Hashtag segue. We'll come back to that later on in the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love for all of you to be a part of the radio broadcast today, and there's a very simple way for you to do that. Actually, there's multiple very simple ways for you to do that. The first is to give us a buzz. The Ghostrap Family Dealerships.com phone line is open for you at 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663. The second is our text line. Our text line is 71307. 71307. 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. I noticed last week when I was going back and looking through some of the text that some of y'all been sending us text without hitting the keyword at the front. Now, we do get them. The problem is that we get them in the midst of our other station, which uses the same text line. And so we only see them if we get lucky. So if you text us at 71307, start that text with FAN, F-A-N, we can read them on the air. You can also get at us on Twitter at The Rob Brown Show, or everybody in the building at The Fan Upstate, on Twitter. And, of course, if you got something that is a little bit more long format and you don't want to get on the air, you can email me, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we are stock locked and loaded. Let's take our first break of the day. And when we come back, y'all know that I love me some Shane Beamer. I think the guy is doing just about everything right. But there's a conversation ongoing involving roster tampering at the college football level. And Shane said something that I, A, find very interesting, but B, I take a little bit of an issue with. I'll tell you what it is when we come back. My name is Rob Brown. Brandon's in for Zoe. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to The Fan Upstate. All right, guys, I've got a live read right here. You guys stay. I'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen.
After this.
Sorry.
It's after this.
Okay. So usually what we'll do is insert a stop set at the end of that liner right there.
Okay.
And I'll go straight into the read and then run the commercial break as a whole.
Okay. All right, here we go. You have 10 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about our friends at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in non-surgical regenerative therapy. If you or someone that you love is dealing with joint pain, I'm talking in your ankles, in your toes, in your knees, in your elbows, in your lower back, in your spine, in your shoulders, in your hips, wherever you might be dealing with joint pain, it has an impact. It has an effect on you. It also has an impact and effect on your life, because it's not just that you can't get on the ground and roll around with the grandkids or go play 72 holes of golf over a weekend or whatever the case might be. It's that you can't. So you not only have to deal with the pain, but you have to deal with being upset that you can't. You don't want to do that. Neither do I. None of y'all do. And that's why QC Kinetics is here. QC Kinetics can help jumpstart your body's own natural healing capabilities, the ones that restore that connective tissue in your joint so that you can go back to feeling like you did before joint pain was your reality. So if joint pain is your reality, you need to reach out to QC Kinetics now by going to their website at qckinetics.com, qckinetics.com, or give them a buzz at 864-448-3772, 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show. Get your first consultation for free. Appointments are available right now in Greenville with our friends at QC Kinetics.
Yeah, I put a stop set. I put it in the wrong spot.
That's all good.
98.9 WORD Weather Center. Here's the Carolinas' most trusted forecast on the Fan Upstate. For today, becoming partly sunny with a slight chance for an afternoon.
Texter said, love the show. I need to get a new text line.
I've been banging that drum for a while.
Tuesday, chance for a locally storm with 9. I'm meteorologist Michael Farrer on the Fan Upstate. Currently 65 degrees. Join me, Mark Ryan, with Offside this Wednesday from 3 to 7 at Eagles Markets at 10903 Anderson Road in Piedmont. We'll also be giving away a $25 Eagles gift card. We'll see you there.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will.
How is he hearing the live read on the stream?
You will owe if you
What's that?
qualify.
How do you hear the live? James, I heard the live.
Oh, muted him. Mine
These
muted me.
programs, which the credit
And adapters.
Know anyone who wants 3 encyclopedias
All right,
from
dudes and dudettes,
1992?
we're back. Yeah, so when we're on the stream, on StreamYard,
Find out more at
your mic on your picture needs to be unmuted and mine
Meet
needs
Joe
to be
A,
muted.
Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes
On where your little
perfecting their
picture is there a
banking
mic
skills.
button?
Joe A
If you
is locking
highlight the
his
picture,
lost
actually, it
debit
should
card
just be a
with the
little
Chase
mic
mobile
icon.
app. Joe B is cruising toward his new
Correct,
ride
and it
with
needs to stay that
autosave.
way.
And Joe
Yeah,
C's
so,
Chase
you don't-
banker is
once
helping
it's
him
set up,
budget
you
to
don't
go
need to
back
worry
to
about the
school.
stream.
Tools that
I
help
produce
protect.
everything on the stream.
Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC. The Rob Brown Show, now 9 to noon.
I don't see a decline in Kansas City. I do see a decline out of the Eagles.
You are questioning the Kansas City Chiefs?
Disrespect! Is that disrespect?
That was disrespect.
The Chiefs are winning the Super Bowl because they have been hashtag disrespect.
It's people like you, Rob,
I know.
and you disrespect.
I am very, very sorry. It is my disrespect that did it. So when the Chiefs inevitably win the 2023-24 Lombardi Trophy, you can all look back to April 17th, 2023 and say, damn it, Rob Brown, you did this when you hashtag disrespected.
We're going to clip this so I can play it back to you, and you'll know it's your fault.
Go ahead, man. You can put it on the Fearless
I'm
Predictions.
writing it down on my list.
If the Chefs win the SB this year, it is because Rob had the audacity to disrespect them.
How dare you?
Same great show, new time.
The Rob Brown Show.
Now 9 to noon, only on the Fan Upstate.
Sponsored by Jeff Martin Auctioneers. Jeff Martin Auctioneers is back with the Summer East Coast Public Auction on Thursday, June 15th in Pelzer, featuring construction and farm equipment, trucks, trailers, and more. Bid your way live on site or online at jeffmartinauctioneers.com. Experience the difference. License 4283.
Listen on the Odyssey app. Search the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate. So, roster tampering is something that has been happening. I've done radio before. Stick with me. Let me try all of that again. All right. Roster tampering is something that has been happening in sports since rosters became a thing. Shane Beamer is now claiming that roster tampering has happened at the University of South Carolina. Just a few days ago, Shane Beamer said after he performed like he did in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, schools aren't supposed to be reaching out to him, but he had everybody asking him to be the quarterback of their team. He said that at a Gamecock Club event in Anderson. He said he chose to stay at Carolina. Now, I find that very interesting Billy Napier went on to say, there's no doubt tampering is real. And I think that until there's something done about it, you'll continue to see it. And I agree with that. Shane also said, quote, we lost 4 guys that were key contributors for us after the season, and it was a strange on a couple of those situations based on conversations that I'd had with guys 2 or 3 days before they went into the portal. It's interesting how things happen. But again, rumors are one thing, proof's another thing. And as far as our situations, I haven't had anything where I've necessarily turned anybody in for tampering, end quote. Now, does Rob Brown believe that tampering is happening at the college football level? Yes. Yes. I absolutely do. I absolutely do. I don't think there's any way that it's not happening. And certainly there's no way that it's not happening with the transfer portal, making it relatively easy for a player to hop from one school to the next and potentially do so multiple times. Here's what I will say. Until and unless coaches are willing to begin naming the schools that they believe are tampering, until and unless schools are willing to name the coaches or the boosters or whoever else they claim is tampering, all this feels like to me is college football coaches that are still upset that kids can sign a scholarship, get to a point where they're relied upon, and then move somewhere else that is better for them. Shane didn't, for instance, mention Marshawn Lloyd, who is now the starting running back for the University of Southern California Trojans. He was a dude who, it felt like, was all Gamecock, right? Bled garnet and black. And then he wasn't anymore. Is that because somebody at USC reached out to him? I mean, if you put on your tinfoil cap, you could certainly make that argument. But I could also say, hey, respectfully, let's look at USC and let's look at USC. One of the USCs is going to be a top 6 team when the initial polls come out before the 2023 college football season starts. The other USC is listed right now in Vegas at best to finish 3rd in their division, a division that they share with the reigning defending undisputed college football national champions, a team that is, spoiler alert, going to be beginning this season ranked as the number 1 team in America, and they will stay there until somebody gets them. That's the Georgia Bulldogs. One of those teams needed a starting running back. The other one also needed a starting running back. But one of the two of them has a clearly defined, and let's be honest, much easier path to the college football playoff than the other. One of those schools sits in the largest media market in America. The other one does not. And I think at this point, if you're playing the Rob Brown Show Home Edition, you have likely figured out which of those 2 schools is which. Now, is it possible somebody from Lincoln Riley's staff reached out to Marshawn Lloyd and said, hey, look, we are very close. We've got a Heisman front runner at quarterback. We've got an outstanding wide receiver group. We do need an upgrade at running back, and that could be you. Not only could it be you, young man with NFL aspirations, but it could be you playing in the largest media market, playing in one of the teams that I'm not going to name any particular sports broadcasting companies that have 4 letters in the name, but a school that they love to prop up. I was telling Brandon before the show started, I got so damn aggravated because I walked in here today the morning after the Miami Heat went on an absolute tear and defeated the heavily favored Denver Nuggets on their home floor. I walk in here this morning, I flip on that same network, and what do I see them talking about? Where do the Lakers go from here? I don't know, the golf course, Cancun, right? Because they're not playing right now. That same network gives that same love to the colleges out of California. USC, the California version, guaranteed. So here's my take on this whole thing. I don't have an issue with Shane Beamer saying roster tampering is happening in the Southeastern Conference and in college football. No issue with that, because it likely is. What I do have a problem with is Shane Beamer saying roster tampering is happening in the SEC and college football and not giving up the game. If he came out and he said, hey, look, Marshawn went to SC, and we know that Lincoln Riley reached out to him. We know that Really Rich Booster X reached out to him and said, hey, I'm not saying there's a $200,000 NIL deal on the table with your name on it if you come to SC, but there is. If any of that gets said, we got a very important discussion to be had right now. If he comes out and gives up the game, if he comes up and names names, if he tells us who's doing the tampering, now we got something going here. But if all you do is say bad thing is happening and that's it, okay, and right? Like, and what do you want done here? What's the goal? What's the game? What's the point? It sounds like you're asking for a change, and that's really good. It sounds like you're asking for punishments against schools who are found to be tampering. And again, that's good. Those things absolutely should happen. But the problem that you're bumping into here is if we don't know who's doing the thing, how do you levy punishments? If we don't know who is committing the crime, how do we levy punishments? Hell, if we don't even know if the crime is happening, how do we levy punishments? Again, I'm sure that it is. I don't have any issue with that. But I also don't have a direct line to players. For the players to go, hey, coach, I got a very interesting phone call from Lincoln Riley last night. Hey, coach, I got a very interesting phone call from some cat who claimed to be a USC booster last night. Hey, coach, I got a very interesting email that had some numbers written down in it.
I don't see them actually going like, hey, XYZ did this because, snitching. They're not going to snitch because if USC or whomever is going to say, hey, we'll give you XYZ dollars too, because the NIL stuff. We'll offer you that kind of money. They're not going to say, hey, coach. I mean, there's someone that apparently did it in North Carolina, but hey, coach, XYZ said they're going to give me, $5 million a year. So if we go to them, what can you give me? They're not going to be like that. They're going to be like, let's keep it to ourselves. Hey, we might find a better opportunity at USC. Let's go there.
So we've all heard snitches get stitches, right? We've heard that before, and I get it. But there is a difference between snitching versus somebody punched you in the mouth and you rocked them back, right? Snitches get stitches is one thing. It is another thing entirely because Shane is ultimately claiming here, if indirectly, we can all read between the lines. Shane Beamer is claiming here that his program was directly wronged by someone connected to another program. That's the claim, right? He is claiming roster tampering. He is saying, isn't it interesting that we had 4 guys that were mainstays on our roster last year that aren't here, that are all playing somewhere else. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, do I think that Jaheim Bell is gone because of roster tampering? No. I think Jaheim Bell is gone because Jaheim Bell was unhappy with the way that South Carolina was utilizing him in the offense. He sees another school, Mike Norvell in Tallahassee, that leans heavy on tight ends. I think Jaheim Bell has NFL aspirations and went, I'm going to get more out of playing my ball in Tallahassee than I am in Columbia. Do I think there was tampering there? Probably not. I think Jaheim was unhappy and moved on. Would I say the same about Marshawn? I wouldn't say that there was roster tampering, but I also wouldn't say that there was not roster tampering. I will simply take the neutral position, the default position of, I don't know if there is or there is not. Lonzo and I get into this discussion about philosophy all the time. I love philosophy. I'm infatuated with the way people think and why they think the way they think. There are 3 positions that you can take on any proof positive claim. I do believe the claim, I do not believe the claim, or I don't know. There's nothing wrong with I don't know. In this spot, I am taking the position of I don't know. Do I think it's a possibility? Yeah. Would I say it's happening? I'd be willing to venture the guess. Would I say it's happening? Would I say it's happening specifically in the instance of Shane Beamer in South Carolina? I would not say that it is. I would not say that it isn't. I will say this. If you're going to insinuate it, bring the names forward. College football will be better off if you were to go, Lincoln Riley tampered. Now, I will say this. There is one good reason Shane Beamer would not bring the names forward. There is one good reason Shane would not say a name. And that one good reason is because he doesn't have concrete proof, right? Because if you're going to bring a charge like this forward, you would better well be damn ready to back it up. Because if you bring a claim like this forward, and it's investigated and looked into, and there's no evidence or not enough evidence for the NCAA or a court or the court of public opinion to go, yeah, Shane's probably onto something here, you're going to end up with mud on your face. You're going to end up being the one who looks bad. But perception is important. And in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, my position on this would be, if you're going to claim tampering and you're not going to give up the game, you're not going to tell us who's doing the tampering, then all it looks like is yet another instance where a college football coach simply doesn't like a new set of rules that empowers college football players and makes their job more difficult. Now, I don't think Shane's that guy. I don't. I've had that's not true. I've had 2 conversations with Shane Beamer. One of them on this show, one of them on a baseball field where we didn't talk about any of this. But I've had 2 conversations with him. And Shane very much strikes me as a college football coach who keeps the best interest of his players in mind. Dabo Swinney's the same guy, even if most of America doesn't agree with that. But I will say that impressions mean a lot. And the impression that I get when a college football coach says, oh, yeah, players are leaving because other schools are tampering with them. I'm not going to tell you who or what schools or what they said or what evidence I have for that. I'm just going to say it's happening. The impression that is given out is this is making my job more difficult and I don't like it. In which case, respectfully, I'm going to dismiss that because I don't care. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute from right now. We got a bunch more to get into. We are going to talk a lot of college baseball coming up in the next hour. Clemson, hell of a run in the regular season, hell of a run in the conference tournament, fall flat in the regional. Exact opposite is true for South Carolina. Crap run through the back half of the schedule, crap run in the SEC tournament, yet they are not only going to be playing in a super regional, depending on the outcome of the Florida-Texas Tech game today, they could be hosting a super regional. So what went right? What went wrong? We'll talk about that coming up later on in the show. I'm Rob Brown, Brandon in for the great one. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show. You're listening to the Fan Upstate.
Join us for passionate sports talk that's sure to stir the
Passionate
pot. This is the
sports
Rob
talk,
Brown
people.
Show on the Fan
Not that half-ass.
I'm Chuck Sanders.
Weak
Here's the sports
sports
flash
talk.
on the Fan Upstate.
It's all bangers
Wake
around
Forest has
here.
advanced to super regional action. They'll take on Alabama. The Demon Deacons, the #1 team in the nation. Virginia's advanced and will take on the winner of today's Coastal Carolina Duke matchup. South Carolina awaits the winner of today's Florida Texas Tech game. Super regional action starts this Friday. The Braves beat the Diamondbacks 8-5 Sunday. Eddie Rosario hit a grand slam off Miguel Castro with 2 outs in the ninth. Arizona led at 5-4 heading into the ninth after Ketel Marte hit a 2-run homer and Ricky Corbin and Carroll connected for a solo shot. AJ Minter's 3-5 here in the win. Raisel Iglesias worked around a walk in the ninth for his 7th save and 8 chances this season. Atlanta's lead atop the National League East, now 3.5 games better than the Marlins.
Don't say that.
Open a series at home against the Mets tomorrow. The Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin sports all year long. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
From the Ingalls Market Studio,
Toronto.
Upstate.
Home of some of the best
97.7
professional
FM
wrestlers of all time.
97.1 FM Spartanburg.
always live on the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, it's Rob Brown from The Rob Brown Show. Listen, are you
that's
wishing
me.
that you had sold your home a few
I
years
know-
ago? Or
I
you
know
worried
him.
that maybe you missed getting the best price for your home and a nice little jump on getting into your dream home next? Well, do not worry about it. It is not too late. Even with interest rates a little higher, home values are normalizing, and it is still an excellent time to list your home for sale and find your next home too.
Yep.
With an Allen Tate Realtor by your side, you'll have the experience and the expertise you need to navigate today's market dynamics
will
and
you take the
successfully
ads,
achieve
the
your
wide
real
orbit
estate
out
goals. So
of
you can.
utility.
Thank you, Stephen. Good call. Appreciate that. That's why you're in charge, Stephen. That's why you're in charge. Nah, it's all good.
NGU won this weekend.
I heard.
4-1.
I need to get over there and go to a game. Well, of course he does. He's the play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna win again. I feel it. Then again, I thought Clemson was gonna do something, but we'll see what happens. Thanks, Clemson.
Dude, what a that loss in the Tennessee game crushed them.
Oh yeah,
Crushed them.
I was like, oh, they got
Exactly. Now imagine being asked to go back out.
Strike, too.
Imagine being asked to go back out 12 hours later with your bullpen depleted because you went deep into that through the pen with your bullpen depleted and be asked to play another team that is also playing for their lives, but is doing so with more rest and more pitchers available. You were always set up to lose that game.
The callers last night or the night before said, if you're Charlotte, you're saying, please let this game go to like 2 o'clock in the morning because we got all this rest. And we see what happened. I'm really disappointed because they had the chances, just couldn't capitalize.
Yep.
It's your last chance to shop Memorial Day savings at Lowe's. Now is the time to make your home beautiful with savings on with the heart. Buy a V20 spring trimmer or leaf blower for just $99 and get select Bear Tool free. Lowe's knows lawn care. Lowe's knows home improvement. Now for 6 seconds. Selection varies by location. While supplies last.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, you're starting to speak another language.
Trey Davis, it's a beautiful stadium. I love going to Mercedes-Benz Stadium. As far as Matt Brimey gone, I wish he was kind of still there because he'd be a good teacher for Desmond Ritter. But do I think I think his tank is dry as far as being a quarterback in the NFL? Yes. You know, it says your mic is muted on the stream, right?
Yes, it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the mic I was talking about last time. Because so your mic to the stream is everything that you hear on the radio. It's all combined into one stream source that goes through your mic into the stream. So like when I turn my mic on the board, so because this is in utility, it's always sending to utility. Everything in utility feeds into one channel, which goes through your microphone. The Rob Brown Show continues, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. All right, so we got a text during that break. Last thought or two on this before we move on. Texter said, Rob, I would imagine tampering is happening everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Maybe different levels, but I think it's going on everywhere, which is why they aren't giving specifics, because it'll fall back to the if you tell on me, I'll tell on you category. That's from UNC Chris. Chris, appreciate that text, buddy. I would say to that, then why bring it up, right? If I steal money out of Brandon's pocket, and then Lonzo steals money out of my pocket, and then Diesel steals money out of Lonzo's pocket, and then Mark steals money out of Diesel's pocket, and then Diesel steals money out of some... What would be the point if I'm stealing money out of somebody else's pocket and coming in here, jumping on the mic and going, somebody stole money out of my pocket? Because if they investigate that, they might find out who stole the money from my pocket, but you know what else they might find out? That I did that too. In which case, everybody's going down. I feel like if I was going to steal money out of somebody else's pocket, I would make it my goal to steal more money than they stole from me, right? Be clever about it. Don't get caught. Be smart about it. But my thing is here, if everybody's tampering with everybody else, why would you bring it up? Why would you put it up for discussion? Why would you effectively take a shot? Let me see if I can get through this with a straight face. At the integrity of college. Sorry. I tried my best. At the integrity of college football. When your ass is on the line too, why would you do that, right? It basically feels like, to me, if you truly believe that this is a problem, if you truly believe that this is something that needs to be addressed, if you truly believe that this is something that is damaging your school, damaging your program, damaging college football, if you're gonna bring it up, give me names. Because at a point in time where there are so many other college coaches who are very clearly not upset about the portal or NIL. They're upset that their job's harder than it used to be, right? Because it used to be you had to work to get a kid to come to your school. And then once that kid was in your school, that kid was in your school, right? You could tell a kid, hey, you come here. You're an immediate starter. You're a contributor. You're all conference. We're going to put you up on billboards outside the stadium. We're going to put you in the program on the cover. We're going to put together scouting reports to get you to the league. We got you, dog. And then he gets there. And after his freshman year, he didn't play. And his picture's not hanging on the stadium, and it's not on the front of the program. In the old days, didn't matter. That kid was locked in. This is where you play football. You agreed to this. Today, that kid could get to the end of the year and go, bleep you, bro. I'm out. I'm going to go somewhere where they, do all the things that make my life better. And so for a college football coach to lose 4 playmakers off his roster. Shane's number's not mine. To lose 4 players off his program. And then to immediately start making the claim, that's not true, not the claim, to immediately start insinuating that the only reason that they are gone is because other programs were reaching out to them, talking to them, making them promises, effectively stealing from them. If you come forward with that insinuation, not allegation, if you come forward with that insinuation, but you don't name names, you don't name schools, hell, you don't even get details, right? It'd have been a completely different story if he'd have come out and gone, one of the players that is gone was sent a contract for an NIL with a collective for X $1,000. You just come out with details. We got a story here. But when you come forward with an insinuation, when you come forward with a maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, I don't know, but I definitely think it did, and you don't give details and you don't name names, it is very easy. In fact, the situation demands that in that case, you ignore the claim and all that comes with it. And when we do that, it most certainly feels like the only reason that this claim, that this allegation is being made is because he just doesn't like that he lost players. And of course, who would, right? Who would? Who would like losing players? If I got a call tomorrow that said, hey, Lonzo's gone, he's going only in full-time on WORD, I'd be like, yo, ORD just picked up an all-star, and I would not like that very much. But if it was Lonzo's call and that's what was in his best interest, would I step on his neck? No. I'd go, all right, man, sucks for me, but good on you, dog. Good for you. You got that paper. I'm here for it. But me not liking a thing doesn't mean I would come in here the next day and start throwing around allegations of impropriety on the behalf of the great one, right? I wouldn't come in here and start throwing up theories that the host over on ORD were trying to screw me.
Didn't DJ Uyunglele do that to Clemson, though? He threw them on the bus. After he goes to Oregon State, he said some not so nice things about Clemson.
Yeah. And by the way, do you know who responded to that claim with class and grace? Do you know who responded to that claim by saying, man, I still want the best for DJ. I hope he goes up there and I hope we see him again in a playoff. I hope he does great. I hope he kicks ass. He didn't say that. It's my words, not his. But I hope he kicks ass at Oregon State. Dabo said that. Dabo knew that what happened with DJ at Clemson was unfortunate. It didn't work out. He was supposed to be the guy. He wasn't the guy. He goes somewhere else in his own better interest. Cool. Good for DJ. Now, would it have turned out the same way if DJ Uyunglele was all ACC? If he was an All-American? If he was a Heisman finalist? And then he went, yeah, appreciate the foundation, but I'm out. I'm going to wherever. I'm going to Michigan. I'm going to be a starter in Michigan because they're a playoff team. Would things be the same? I don't know. But what I do know is if Shane's not going to give us a name or give us details or do anything more than go, roster tampering is happening and it hurt me, then it just looks like a coach. And again, this goes against all the other evidence that Shane Beamer is not this guy. But it makes it feel like a coach who's just upset that his job is harder than he wants it to be. Let's take a break. When we come back, college baseball, y'all. Clemson, South Carolina, one into the Super Regionals, one not. So what happened? What went on? What went down in the Clemson and the Columbia Regionals? We'll break that down next. My name is Rob Brown, Brandon in for the great one. You're listening, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, y'all stay right there. Hitting the restroom. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, dudes and dudettes, we are back. Trey, I have not made it to the new stadium in Atlanta yet either, but I very, very much want to. I've heard it's incredible. Oh, he's in Destin. He's down in my old hometown. Yeah, you got to let the sun come up a little bit, big fella. It's early down there, man. It's 9 o'clock. You at the beach at 9 o'clock, or you mean like just in general? Our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show goes right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rob Brown. So glad to have you guys along for the ride. Lonzo laid out in a solid red Speedo somewhere on the beaches of eastern South Carolina right now. We hope he has a wonderful and very well-deserved vacation. My dog, Brandon, in the house filling in this week. What's up, big fella?
Hey, no more talking about Lonzo and his Speedo.
I thought you were about to have the coolest radio moment of your career when I went, "What's up?" And you went, "Hey." Just, hey. How you doing? Hey.
Let's
Sup?
get it.
Hey. Incredible.
Let's get it, Rob. Today's going to be a good day. You know why? You woke up this morning.
I did. Very early, but I did. The dog asked to go outside at 4:45 in the morning.
Hey, I remember waking up those times when I used to work on my old job. I had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and be there by 4:45.
I did morning radio for a number of years where I was out of bed between 3:30 and 4 and in the building at 4 to 4:30 in the morning.
Eesh.
I don't miss that, which is why when the dog wakes me up at 4:45 in the morning, my first thought is, I wonder if the pound is open yet. I would not take my dog to the pound. She's a great dog. She just is a puppy and does not care about my health and well-being or sleep. We got a lot to get into, ladies and gentlemen, a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. Let us begin with what happened in the regionals between Clemson and South Carolina. Not between the two. They didn't play each other, but between the two. You know what I mean. Anyway, Clemson baseball did not lose a game for 36 days, 2 hours, and 59 minutes. And then Their 17-game winning streak came to an end. It was a hell of a run, but let's get down to the meat and potatoes of it. Clemson was a very good baseball team, and that has not changed. They were a very good baseball game until the very end of their second to last baseball game. They were a very good baseball team through the end of their last game, but something happened in that game against Tennessee. That Saturday night game against Tennessee, winner's bracket game against Tennessee, a game that went on for 14 innings, a game that was won by Tennessee in the 14th inning. That was a painful loss. It wasn't painful, however.
How long was the game again? Like time
how long
wise?
did it take?
Yeah.
A long ass time. Let me see if I can find the official. Let's see. The official time on that game, according to ESPN, is not listed, but I'm going to guess 4 hours, 3:45, somewhere in that ballpark. 14 innings did that game go. But I'm going to tell you exactly what happened here. What happened here was Tennessee in 14 innings used 3 pitchers. Clemson used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pitchers to get through 14 innings. Now, let's start with this. Let's start with the fact that Caden Grice was a monster in this game. 8.2 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, pitched 114 pitches. About as much as you can ask for out of a college baseball pitcher. The problem was Clemson had to throw every damn body else in the bullpen after him to get through that 14. Ammons came out, threw at 1 batter, threw 9 pitches. Hughes went 1.1. Lindley Garris threw 1 batter. Smith threw 1.1. Weiss threw to 1 batter, threw 4 pitches, gave up 1 hit. Clayton threw 1 inning. That's what it came down to. Tell you the second part. The L that you took in that game was mentally exhausting. To go 14 innings, to threaten a 4-hour baseball game, to nearly play 2 back-to-back games, and then get walked out is wildly painful. It's just wildly painful. It exacts a toll on you. And we can have conversations all day until the cows come home about how championship teams are mentally strong, are, they have fortitude in spots like this. And that is absolutely a thing. Absolutely a thing. I can tell you this Clemson team was mentally tough. They don't win the ACC tournament if they're not. They don't earn a regional and a national seed if they're not. But there were a couple of problems. Number one, you lost Canarella, one of the better hitters on your team. A guy who went 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs and a homer in that game against Tennessee gets bounced in extra innings for smack talk. Now, sure, I think this is one of those times where the idealist in you might go, oh, you got to know better, right? You got to be smart in that spot. You can't get mouthy with a Tennessee player hurling insults at each other in front of the second base umpire and expect him to let it go. And sure, that's fine. But dude, you can't bounce that dude in that spot. You can't bounce that guy in that spot. You can't bounce that guy 3 innings into a multi-extra inning game and suspend him for the next one. You just took Clemson's leadoff batter. You just took their bet. A guy who had more hits in that Tennessee 14-inning derby than any other Tiger in the game. You can't take that guy away from Clemson. So they don't have their leadoff guy and ask them to play less than 12 hours later in an elimination game after going 14 and exhausting their bullpen. Most teams will lose in that game, right? They came into an elimination game. Tennessee had another 6 hours of rest before their Sunday game started. You asked them to go up against Charlotte without the best hitter, without most of their bullpen. I mean, they're both it's college. Their guys were able to come back and pitch the next day, but they pitched 12 hours before that. They ended up going 7 pitchers deep in that game against Charlotte. Olenchuk threw 2, Lindley threw 2, Hughes threw 2.2, Garris threw 1 batter, Reed threw 2, Weiss threw 4 pitches, a 4-pitch walk before he got yanked, and Darden came in to close it out. So Clemson had to go into their Sunday game against Charlotte, missing their best bat, having the majority of their bullpen on short rest, even though they only threw 1, 2, 3 batters the night before, it still is in your head. After an emotional 1-run loss, less than 12 hours before that. Most teams are losing that game. Do I think that the Charlotte 49ers are better than Clemson? Nope. I think they were handed, courtesy of the Tennessee Volunteers, a ridiculous advantage in that game. Home field matters in baseball. College baseball, hosting a regional, despite the fact that they are neutral sites. Y'all, I have been to some of the greatest advantages in college baseball. I have been to Doug Kingsmore when they were hosting South Carolina. I have been to Founders Park when they were hosting Clemson. I have been at Florida State University. I have been to LSU. I have been to Alabama. I have been to some of the great, and I'm telling you, the emotion of a home crowd can change a game. Clemson's crowd was loud and into it on Sunday when Clemson took on Charlotte. They absolutely were. But what you're not going to do as a crowd is overcome the multiple disadvantages created for the Tigers based on a 14-inning heartbreaker of a loss. And keep in mind, even if they had beat Charlotte, they'd have had to come back and play again today. So they'd have had to go on back-to-back, playing one of those wins with that. Do I think they had a chance to win today if they'd have squeaked out yesterday? Hell yeah, they would have won today. I'll call that shot. They would have. They'd have got Canarella back. Their pen would have had a full day's rest to get right, as opposed to 12 hours of rest like they did between Saturday and Sunday. That Tennessee game was an emotional roller coaster that ended falling off a cliff. It was exhausting. It was late at night. It led to an early day the next day. Again, let me be very clear. The ejection of Canarella was a joke. That was bogus, right? You guys that have listened to the show for any length of time know that I am a dude who says if it is a foul in the fourth quarter, it's a foul in the first and vice versa. I am a dude that says if it's holding in the first quarter, it's holding in the fourth quarter. I am a dude that has said you don't change the way that you officiate based on a spot in the game. And there's something that happened last night that we're going to come to in just a minute as well. But if it's a foul in the first, it's a foul in the ninth. I believe that. I don't think you toss one guy, unless he just said something egregious, and let's be real, we don't know what Cantarella said, right? If he said something hateful, racist, sexist, misogynistic, homophobic, whatever. If he said something to the shortstop, to the base runner of Tennessee as he was leaving the field, sure. But I think you got to clarify that, right? You don't have to repeat what he said, but you got to come out and you got to say, Cantarella said something that is unrepeatable. Cantarella said something that was insulting, offensive, whatever. But if they were just Jack Jong, if they were just talking baseball spack, right? See you bottom half. See you next time out. You try running next time, right? Like if you said something smack talk wise, you can't toss that guy, and you certainly can't suspend him for the next game.
I would have just issued a warning, to be honest. And the crew was actually confused as to who got ejected in the first place when they were calling the game. And the only way they found out what possibly was happening was when they looked back to the tape. You do see Cantarella yip or jab back and forth, but in the same sense, if he got ejected, why didn't the Tennessee player get ejected? Because one of the Tennessee players responded as well.
Yeah. Again, this is the difficult spot. We don't know what happened. We don't know what got said. We don't know if it was their first or fifth or 50th interaction. We don't know if they were both Jack Jawing. We don't know if it was just Cantarella. I don't know. It is one of those times that I do think officials have or should have an obligation at the conclusion of a sporting event to come out and say, this is what happened. This is why this decision got made. This is what we saw. This is what we heard. This is what guy A did, what guy B responded. This is why we made the call we made. But all that aside, loss of Cantarella, the exhaustion of the bullpen, a 14-hour emotional, heartbreaking L, followed up by first pitch in the next game being 12 hours later, Clemson got put at a disadvantage. Now, this is not me crying or making an excuse, because here's the other reality. Wake the Bats up against Tennessee, win that game in 9, you got no problem. You got no problem. You're not playing again until later Sunday. You got the full day's rest. Your bullpen's not exhausted. You're in a much better spot to win. Clemson could have created the solution to this problem by winning that game outright over Tennessee, a team that was very beatable, very beatable in that day. If you'd have told me Tennessee was going to score 4 runs, I'd have felt pretty good about Clemson having the chance to win that game. But you didn't. And it sets you up in a disastrous scenario for Sunday. Now, here's the good news. Good news is Clemson baseball knows what the problem is for next year. Clemson baseball knows they need better back-end rotation. Clemson baseball knows that they have got to stack the pen because it's not right now. And they understand they have built an offensive team. Clemson a lot like the Braves right now. You are going to win or lose based on your offense hitting the ball well. That doesn't always predicate to the postseason, but hey, that's why the regionals, the super regionals in Omaha are all double elimination format. So if you have a cold day with the Bats, you're not done. You're in a hole, but you're not done. Bakich knows what the problems are now. He knows the direction he needs to point this program, and I suspect he will. Let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about the other regional that took place yesterday. Columbia, the Gamecocks, they did get it done. They're going to have a very keen eye turned down to Gainesville, Florida, because if the Gators win today, that will be the destination of their road trip to the Super Regionals. But if the Mighty Orange and Blue fall to the Red Raiders today, Texas Tech comes to Columbia for a Super Regional. What happened in their regional? We'll talk about that one next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, I got a live read right here. Stay right there. We'll be right back. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Had a couple of things we had to knock out real quick, but we back. We in here.
Sponsored by Jeff Martin Auctioneers. Jeff Martin Auctioneers is back with the Summer East Coast Public Auction on Thursday, June 15th in Pelzer, featuring construction and farm equipment, trucks, trailers, and more. Dig your way live on site or online at jeffmartinauctioneers.com. Experience the difference. License 4283.
So Clemson gets bumped from the regional that they host in their stadium. Founders Park, quite the opposite scene this weekend as the Gamecocks end up winning their regional. The opposite thing happened, right? These two programs were polar opposites of each other this year. Clemson went on an absolute heater to end the regular season. They went on a heater through the ACC tournament, and then they just went cold down the stretch. They got the Friday night win. They gave one back Saturday, one Sunday. Carolina did the exact opposite. The Gamecocks ended the season, the regular season, with a resounding fart sound. But then, and that, by the way, includes the SEC tournament. Got the win over an unranked Georgia team to open the SEC tournament. And then got bounced back-to-back. Went up against a very good LSU team, took the L, went up against Texas A&M. Again, a good team, a hell of a game against Stanford last night. And got bumped from the SEC tournament. Folks were calling for South Carolina not to get a regional bid, or at least not to host. In fact, the argument was that the Campbell Camels should have been the team that was hosting a regional. And listen, there was a lot that was working against the Camels, a very good Campbell team. But there's a lot that was working against the Campbell Camels. One of the things, you don't have to like it, but I do believe it to be true, is that when given the option to host a regional in a Southeastern Conference baseball stadium versus a small school like Campbell, the NCAA is going to pick the SEC theater before anything else. But I would also like to remind you that the decision to give you a national seed in a regional hosting bid is based predominantly on your season's accomplishments. And up until South Carolina went stone cold with about 18% of the season remaining and dropped what was it? 6 SEC series consecutively? The first half of the season for South Carolina, they were one of the best teams in the country. In fact, at one point ranked number 3 in the AP poll. So season-wide contribution, I didn't have any particular issue with South Carolina getting the nod to host the regional. And then they showed exactly why. First 2 innings of that game were great baseball. I mean, great baseball. And then the Gamecocks cracked it open. They went absolutely bananas, grinding out at bats, wearing the Campbell Camels pitching staff down. That's what they did early in the season. That's the ball they were playing very early. They were going to small ball you. Occasionally they would take a yard, but for the most part, they were like that old Bugs Bunny cartoon where Bugs is pitching in the bigs and like there's just like a conga line of runners going around the bases. That's what South Carolina tried to do. They were just gonna small ball the hell out of you. Will McGillis blew the game open, a 2-run shot to left field after his return to the top of the lineup. That was a boost. Once he went, yad, the rest of the team was juiced. The Camels didn't go away at that point. Jordan had a couple of dingus for the Camels, but USC's offense didn't get discouraged. They continued coming up. They continued creating long at-bats, right? They were frequently going 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pitches deep into at-bats. And more importantly, they were scoring however Campbell was giving it to them, right? They were scoring however. Will Tippett had a bad pitch that he hung out. Excuse me. Will Tippett saw a bad pitch that was hung out and laid down a squeeze. Do you understand how beautiful a well-executed squeeze play is? It's remarkably difficult to pull off. But when you do, it is one of the prettiest things in sports. He did that. Braylon Wimmer went yad as well. Thomas LaCroix led the team with 5 RBIs on 3 hits. 17 credited hits for the Gamecocks. That, by the way, was against a Campbell Camels number 2 regional seed that most people wanted to see host this regional. I'm not saying Campbell's a bad team. They're not. They're a very good team. It's a very good baseball team. But the fact that the Gamecocks put 17 H's on the scoreboard is exactly what you're looking for. They knew what they were. They were a team that grinds out the offense on you, that wears down your pitching staff. We're going to get through your ace. We're going to get through your top 2, 3 relievers. We're going to get deep in your pen, and then we're going to start beating those guys up. And that's what they did. Becker didn't have his best stuff for the Gamecocks. Didn't matter because they went so deep in game number 1 that the pen was relaxed. It was refreshed. Nick Proctor came in, did a masterful job at stabilizing the game in the middle innings, had a jam in the 4th, ended up allowing 2 runs through 3 innings of work out of the pen. And then Will Sanders made his second appearance of the weekend. 3 scoreless innings out of Will Sanders, and that's great. That's great. Will Sanders was a starter earlier in the year. Had some control issues, questions about potential injuries, et cetera, et cetera. Will Sanders came out and just mastered the Campbell Camels. That, of course, came after South Carolina ended up putting 19 up on Central Connecticut State and then turned around and in a game against I don't want to say great, but good NC State team, did the same thing. Wore down NC State, played excellent small ball defense against the Wolfpack, put 6 up. I don't remember the exact score sheet, but it was like 6 up on 8 hits or something like that. It was a good day from the dish. That's exactly what they do. That's exactly what they do. So, again, these 2 teams, South Carolina and Clemson, polar opposites of each other. As Joey B said in the chat a little bit earlier, the problem with long hit streaks is that they rarely end gently. Yeah, that's exactly right. Clemson's ended violently. But the exact opposite is true for teams that are on a cold streak. Eventually, they're going to warm back up. Brandon and I were talking about, I told you already, I think South Carolina reminds me a lot of the Braves. Braves did the same thing. Lost the series to the freaking Athletics. But then what? They went out west. They went out and visited the NL West division leading Arizona Diamondbacks, a team, by the way, that is or was tied for the best record in the National League, a team that was tied up with the LA Dodgers. Yesterday, they threw their ace Merrill Kelly at the Braves. I honestly almost didn't watch that game. I'm like, there's too much else going on. I got a NASCAR game on at the same time. I got 9 damn college regional games happening at the same time. I've got TST going on. I've got the Red Bull high diving, cliff diving champion. I had a lot going on. I almost didn't watch Braves Diamondbacks yesterday because I was like, I'll just check in later when they lose 8-2. And then all of a sudden, my phone, ping, ping, ping. Eddie Rosario is gone yard. Ronald Acuna Jr. is gone yard. Like, oh, the Braves bats are hot again. And they went on a hot streak. Cold streaks go away, so do hot streaks. The question mark is timing. And it's hard to time these things out. You can a little bit because you can make good tactical decisions, good coaching decisions. You can tinker with lineups. You can move guys up and down based on what they're doing. You can understand where and what your pin is, you can do a lot to kind of push a cold streak to end or a hot streak to keep going. But at the end of the day, the streaks are going to be what they are. Clemson picked a real crappy time to end the hot streak, and South Carolina picked a real damn good time to end a cold streak. That's why the Gamecocks, in about an hour and 26 minutes, are going to be sitting in front of a television watching Florida Texas Tech to find out, are we going to Gainesville or can we move the tarp off of Founders because they're in a super regional? Polar opposites of each other, these two teams. Let's take a break. Come back here in just a minute. Wrap up hour number 1. We got a lot more, hour number 2. Time flies when you're making great radio. Wrap up hour number 2. And then we got a lot more to get into, ladies and gentlemen, on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Okay. Did I say go bananas, James? If I did, I should have spelled it out. That is a rule on the show.
Campbell's Conference, the Big South, has won a College World Series more recently than the ACC, Big 12, and Big
10. Campbell won it. Oh, Campbell's Conference. Okay.
The Big South.
you owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business.
You already have 2 downloaders on that clip I posted.
Love it. I'm not one of them, for the record.
Call the Accredited Debt Relief hotline now. Call 800-330-2900. 800-330-2900. That's 800-330-2900.
I was looking at the ocean temperature for when I go to Charleston next week.
Yep.
Right now it's 74 degrees, and I'm like, that's a little chilly, but they're saying it's supposed to be like mid to upper 80s, close to 90, like towards the end of this week and all of next week. So I'm like, oh, maybe the ocean water will warm up, because I looked at the temperature of Honolulu's water, and it's like 78 to 80 degrees. So it's not too far off what you get in Hawaii. So good temperature for the water.
Joe A is rocking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase Banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Oh, man.
Coastal won the College World Series as Big South members and immediately left the conference the next day. It's the only NCAA championship in Big South history, says Joseph.
Joey B., the official historian of the Rob Brown Show. Here for it. Beautiful. Wrapping up our numero dos, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. You can be a part of the show today at 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. You can also text us at 71307, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, FAN, F-A-N, and we will read them on the air. Real quick, let's get to this. And we will start with college football, college conference expansion. I won't say football expansion. Conference expansion. Early last week, we got the news that Colorado has been in discussions with the Big 12 for a potential return to its old conference. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to do it. It just means that the initial queries have been forwarded to the Big 12. And I am exactly and precisely 0% surprised by that. Colorado, I'm coming to something different here in a minute, but this is the starting point. Colorado has a very unique opportunity here. Colorado has Deion Sanders as its head coach. And right now, a lot of eyeballs are looking at Colorado and Deion Sanders. A lot of eyeballs are looking at Colorado and Deion Sanders right now with great anticipation because regardless of how it turns out, it's a story. There's possibilities. On one hand, Colorado and Deion Sanders might take the nation by storm. Deion Sanders has had, what is it? Not exaggerating, 47 players transfer out of that school as of late. Deion has not only brought in a host of former HBCU players that were with him at Jackson State, he has now not only one, but two of his sons playing there, likely both starting, including Shedeur, who might be a hell of a quarterback. We're going to find out. That's interesting. Deion has broken the mold as to how college football coaches will operate when they take over new jobs. So there's a lot of intrigue there. On the other hand, Colorado might suck under Deion Sanders because, as I pointed out to you when he took the job, Deion Sanders was able to do something at an HBCU that a lot of coaches couldn't. Deion was able to just out-athlete everybody else because he brought in the best recruits that HBCUs could get their hands on who wanted to play for Deion. Now, he's going to do that at Colorado too. The difference is he could pretty much pick and choose out of the whole pool of HBCU players when he was at Jackson State. Can't do that at the D1 level, at the Power 5 level. So we're going to learn, can Deion coach? Can he get in front of a whiteboard? Can he write up some X's and O's? Can he draw out coverages and routes and zone blocking schemes, et cetera, and develop a good football team? And if the answer is no, Colorado's screwed because they put a lot of money into Deion Sanders, and it will be a long recovery from that mistake. So all the eyes are pointed at Colorado. Will they, won't they, right? If Deion Sanders works, you're going to see a lot of coaches that maybe start looking towards high-profile former players to get the same attention, because Colorado's also probably going to have more money coming in now than they've had maybe since, 91? All eyes are on Colorado. Now, as we mentioned, there's two possible outcomes. It goes really poorly. Well, there's three. One is, okay, they're just okay. One is it goes really, really poorly. The other is it goes really, really well. But the only thing that matters in the land of college football is visibility. You are paid when you are in the public eye. Ladies and gentlemen, that is why we have social media influencers. They're not given mucho dinero because they're super attractive. They're not given a ton of money because they're hilarious. They're given a bunch of money because people see them. And if I know that 1 million people see you, I can ask you to hold up a sign that says, Rob Brown is handsome, charming, and good at the radio. And I know that sign will be seen, and people will go, oh, well, if this influencer, okay, that's Colorado. They're an influencer right now, yeah? So if Colorado wants to jump, they want to jump while all eyes are on them because they're viewed as an asset right now. If Deion comes out and Deion's team goes 2-10 this year, they're not really an asset anymore. Because not only, okay, they are bad, Deion, as I've mentioned on the show, he doesn't get the 1 or 2 or 3 year bubble that most new coaches go in. You give them 2 years minimum, 3 years most likely to get it right. You got to cycle out the last coach's guys. You got to cycle in your guy. Deion forfeited that right by turning over 3/4 of the Buffalo's roster and building it himself. All right, cool. But this is your team now. You don't get to go, oh, it's the other guy's team. This is yours now. So Colorado knows that the window where they are viewed as an asset, very short window. Unless they kick ass, but I don't want to gamble on that. I want to do it now. So while they are being viewed as an asset with Deion Sanders, they are opening the conversations with the Big 12. The big question we had was, is the interest a two-way street, or is it just Colorado looking to up their negotiating power with either the Big 12 or with the Pac-10, who is trying to stay relevant? They have lost USC and UCLA. The hot rumor is that they will lose Oregon and Washington to the Big 10 next, which leaves them with Oregon State, Washington State, and Colorado Cal, not great.
Well, there's also reports that the Pac-10 or the Pac-12, whatever it is, and the Big 12 are also in communications with every school in the Mountain West Conference to take them on. So do we see the Pac-12 still exist, or do we see the Big 12 become the perennial powerhouse? You've said that it's going to be 3 big conferences, the SEC, the Big 10, and the everybody else conference.
The EEC.
So
EEC. Okay.
So there is that potential that Colorado could go to if they go to the Big 12, then, what happens to the Mountain West Conference? Because Pac-12 is going to lose a lot of potential. And then you have no longer them being the top 5, the Power 5. What happens to the Pac-10 then,
Yeah, 100%. No, you're spot on. You are spot on. So the question was, with that in mind, with Colorado in mind, is it a two-way street? Is the interest limited to Colorado, or is there mutual interest here? Heather Dinich spoke with Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark Friday, who said that the conference has a plan when it comes to expansion. He said that league leaders are satisfied with their current membership, but they are continuing to explore, quote, all options and considerations at this point in time. She also reported that there was a source who participated in the meetings this week, or last week, said there were no votes on membership yet, but there were discussions about scenarios. What are discussions about scenarios? They're plans, right? If A, then B. If B, then C. If A and B, then D. They're plans. In this scenario, we do this. In this scenario, we do this. Yormark said, without mentioning any specific schools, quote, we do see the upside in basketball moving forward for all the right reasons. We think it's undervalued, and there's a chance for us to double down as the number 1 basketball conference in America, but football is the driver, and we all know that. And as we think about the future and ways to create value, there's always that option to decouple basketball from football to see if there's further value we can create for the conference. So we do know the Big 12 is adding 4 members: BYU, Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF. They will all be in time for this college football season. Texas Tech President Lawrence Chovanec joined the video conference with Yormark and said the Big 12's current presidents and chancellors have certain priorities they're weighing as expansion discussions continue. He said, quote, our institutions share the same high academic standards, and we compete at a very high level athletically. So naturally, those sort of criteria enter into our considerations. But I also think we have to open to this changing landscape of athletics. That's one of the skills and perspective. Bro, all right, I'm not going to read him kissing the butt of Brett Yormark. Of course he is. It's his boss. But listen, the answer is yes. We know that at the league's media days last year, he said the Big 12 was, quote, open for business, end quote. He described back in August of last year the Big 12 as a, quote, national conference in our makeup from coast to coast, end quote. The answer to me is that while he has not yet mentioned Colorado directly by name, the fact that Yormark is saying, we haven't had a vote, we haven't mentioned any schools, but we have had discussions about certain scenarios. My guess is Colorado is trying to sell themselves now because they're an influencer now. All the eyes are on them without doing. That's the beautiful thing about influencing. All the eyes are on you. You don't actually have to do anything. Now, before I sound like the boomer that I am, I would like to point out that a lot of influencers absolutely do stuff. There are a lot of very creative people out there who are incredible influencers who make wonderful art, wonderful content. They're worth a follow. I got into a rabbit hole last night with a young lady who is a cosmetologist, space, not like makeup. And all she does is videos where she basically reads scientific papers put out by NASA, and then she explains them to dumb people like me. It's incredible. She's a wonderful influencer. She's got like 380,000 followers. And I'm like, I get it. Every time I watch a video this girl puts out, I learn new space stuff. And I'm a giant dork, so that's awesome. And then there are other influencers who are like, ooh, and they get half naked on the internet, and they get a million followers, whatever. That's Colorado right now. Colorado's naked on the internet. They look great from a distance. Have no idea what substance they have. No idea if you can have a conversation. No idea if they're good at anything, but they look good naked on the internet. And that's basically what Colorado is. So Colorado is trying to sell themselves now because much like those same half-naked influencers on the internet, at some point, time catches all of us. And at some point, you're not going to just be able to get by wiggling body parts on a webcam. You got to provide something. You got to provide some substance. And if you can provide the substance, then all those followers you amassed by being highly aesthetically pleasing will stick around because you're still contributing to them in some way, shape, or form. But if all you can do is be vapid and half naked and you can't contribute anything, then once you aren't that anymore, you're not worth the follow. You're not worth anything. Colorado is that right now. They're half naked on the internet and they look real good. So they got to sell everything they can do now. They are trying to get the Big 12 to be their sugar daddy right now. That's what this is. Y'all want to be our sugar daddy? And the Big 12 is looking like, I got options, dude. Like, I got options. Like, yeah, on the surface, you're real pretty, but let's see if there's any substance to you. And if Colorado can provide a healthy conversation and a wonderful personality, then yes, the Big 12 will take them on and be their sugar daddy. But if all Colorado can do is look good until it's time to contribute to society, nah, they ain't going anywhere. It comes down to this. If the Big 12 picks up Colorado, the race is on. The SEC will be back into it. The Big 10 will be back into it. The Pac-10 will be, or Pac-12 or whatever we are now, will be screwed because Oregon and Washington are going to be ready to jump and the Big 10 will be waiting with open arms. And then the ACC's up to bat. And I don't know what the hell's next for them. So, worth keeping an eye on, worth looking after, worth paying attention to, because if Colorado gets the trigger pulled, if Colorado ends up in the Big 12, if Colorado gets what they're looking for here, if the Big 12 decides to be their sugar daddy, it's on for everybody. Back after this for the third, final, and best hour of the Rob Brown Show next on the Fan Upstate. That was the dumbest segment I have done in a long time, but it made perfect sense. All right, guys, be back in just a minute. Hang out. All right, we're back, dudes and dudettes. I did that whole segment with that damn Gamecocks banner up.
Located off exit 27 in Anderson at the intersection of Ryobi and Highway 81. Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again. Somebody has to do something. Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside. Upside, what's that? It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this thing. Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached? Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up. Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app.
Yeah, 5 downloads already on that.
Love it. Usually the local local team stuff. Yeah, always. Yeah, exactly right. I don't. There were two. There were two reactions to that last segment. A segment in which I compared the University of Colorado University to a half-naked influencer on the internet, and the Big 12 to a potential sugar daddy for said influencer. There were two different reactions. I got a couple of texts and tweets that said that was hilarious. And then I got one text from my mother who just sent me a GIF of a very disappointed individual, and I'm not exactly sure why, because I thought we stuck the hell out of that comparison, kids. Welcome back. The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Fan Upstate. So glad to have you all along for the ride. I am Rob Brown. Directly across from me, my man Brandon, filling in for the great one who is texting as we speak from his vacation. He just sent me, he is out on, what's that place? Not Myrtle Beach, but outside. There's a little beach outside of Myrtle Beach he goes to. And he just sent me a place, a picture of a place on the beach that does mead tastings. You ever had mead before?
No, what is mead?
Mead is a drink that is, it's kind of like halfway, it's like wine, but it's made with honey. So it's like a little thicker than wine. It's not beer, but it's not wine. It's kind of like in the middle. It is it's a boozy beverage made by fermenting honey mixed with water and other ingredients such as fruits, spices, grains, or hops. The alcoholic content ranges from about 3.5% to more than 20%, according to Wikipedia.
So like a sangria almost.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
A little bit. Mead was
Got me a glass, Alonzo.
Right. Mead was a very popular drink in medieval times because beer's wasn't around for a chunk of it and is kind of difficult to get right. Mead's, I believe, and I could be wrong about this, it's a little bit easier to make, but it's like a honey wine. I have had it. In fact, there is, and I am going to have to apologize because I can't remember the name, but at Union Station in Greenville, there's a meadery as well. I want to say it's called the Wandering Bard. I want to say it's called the Wandering Bard, but they have mead, and I've had mead there, and it's absolutely delightful. Roger said, I would subscribe to myself if I were to get half naked and jiggle my man boobs on an OnlyFans page.
I would. That is awesome.
Roger, I love you, bro, but I would not. I would not. That being said,
let's go.
If you can find that sugar daddy and that's your thing, do your thing, boo. Do your thing. I ain't mad at you.
I think the Big 12 is going to accept Colorado probably the next 3 years. I had that feeling. But like to fall into your point, Colorado has to show
they got to be worth it.
What they are worth. Because if you go 2-10, 1-11, 4-6, or 4-7, what's the point of taking you? What is it going to do for me to bring you in? Are you going to give me more of that money? Because the money does talk. What are you going to do to make me more profit? And if Colorado hits the toilet bowl, they're going to say, thanks, but no thanks.
Conference expansion is driven by one thing. If we add you in the fold, will you make us more profitable? That's it. That's it. Y'all can talk. This is one of my favorite things the last couple of years. Every time conference expansion comes on the table, we start hearing people say, oh, they're not a regional fit. It's not a rivalry fit. It's not a stadium fit. It's not a culture fit. That's all well and good, my dudes. And again, in an ideal world, I feel like this is a trap. A lot of us fall. I accuse Lonzo of this all the time when we have these discussions. We as human beings, as Homo sapiens, we love a few things. We are pattern-seeking creatures, right? We love pattern. We love to figure out patterns. There's a paper out I read one time, years and years ago, but I loved it because, again, giant dork. There's a paper out that explained. Brendan, you a music guy? You're in radio, so yes.
Don't laugh, but I'm a country music.
That's fine.
And I'm a reggae fan, and I'm also a top 40 fan.
Okay. So, the answer, you're a music guy.
Yes, I am.
You may or may not agree with this statement, but I would say that pop music over the past 20 years has gone downhill in quality.
Oh, 100%. I think it has gone way down. Some of the music we have nowadays, I'm like, what is this trash? I mean, we all look at the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s were like the music time. And now it's just like some of the stuff you put together. It's like, this is toilet water.
You know, there's a reason for that. There's a scientific reason for that. The reason for that is that inside your brain, you have the ability subconsciously, you don't know you're doing it, but to release chemicals in your brain that bring you pleasure, joy, happiness, sadness, anger, depression, whatever. It's all chemical. We are just walking chemical reactions. And through hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, our species recognized that if you can find a pattern in something and you can learn what that pattern is, you can predict what happens at the end of that pattern. And if you can predict what happens at the end of any given pattern, and you can make a plan around that pattern, then you can benefit from it, right? That's how agriculture got started. We were able to, based on the movement of the stars in the sky, we were able to begin to nail down from when that star's there till when it moves over there, it's going to be rainy. And that's when we should plant our crops. And so we did. And now all of a sudden we have crops and we can eat. And the species thrives. We are pattern-seeking creatures by evolution. And so the chemicals in your brain are designed to be released when you successfully recognize a pattern, no matter how insignificant that might be. Yeah. And so with pop music, They know that. This is why pop music is frequently upbeat and repetitive, because when you hear in a song, bow, bow, the next time that you hear dun 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 dun, your brain goes pow, and when it does, you're like, bang, nailed it! I knew it was coming, and you get a release of endorphins or whatever. It becomes predictable, and there's a pattern to that. We live where that is the world of ideals. We want to live in this ideal world because if everything's ideal, we know how it's going to go, right? If college football players were only about the love of the game and the passion of college football, then when college football players win, we all know how that feels. We can all be in that moment, and it makes us feel good. That is also why, even though we know that by and large, nobody is strictly good and nobody is strictly bad. Some people are very good and some people are very bad, but nobody is either pure good or pure bad. Everyone is a shade of gray. That is why when we have somebody that we love in the world of sports, and then one day we find out that they're actually a terrible person, it hurts so much because it's the opposite, right? What we predicted to happen, which is this person's amazing and they're always going to be amazing, and suddenly they're terrible. You get that opposite. If college football is looking at expanding, it is solely because of money, nothing else. In our head, we want it to be they would expand because it opens up a new geographic rivalry and this place has a culture fit with the rest of the conference and yada, yada, yada. But that's not how the game gets played. It's driven by money. And that is why, like I said, this decision to expand and include Colorado, despite the fact that Colorado was a member of the Big 12 like when I was an adult, right? This isn't hearkening back to young Rob Brown 35 years ago as a child. This is grown-up Rob Brown. Colorado was a member of the Big 12. They jumped to the Pac-12. Why? Because the Pac-12 could give them more money. And the Pac-12, believe Colorado could bring them.
So it was 1994. Colorado was an original Big 12 member, and they left for the Pac-12 in 2010. So you're only talking 13 years that they've only been in the Pac-12, and they're talking about going back to the Big 12.
Yeah. Yo, I was 25 years old when the Colorado Buffaloes were in the Pac-12. 25. I'm 38 now. We're not talking archaic times. We're not talking about the Big South Conference back in the day, right? We're not talking ancient history here. We're talking recent history, modern history. That's why this is so interesting. So why would Colorado make that jump? Why would they make that move? It's because the Big 12 would pay more. Why would the Big 12 bring in Colorado? Because Colorado will bring in more money. That's the dirty little secret. So the Big 12, I absolutely think, has an eyeball on Colorado, but they're not extending the hand out yet. They're opening the discussion because here's the reality. If Colorado does thrive under Deion Sanders, which they're banking on doing, they are banking on thriving, succeeding, getting money. If they do that, then the slice of the pie they add to the Big 12 skyrockets, and now a Big 12 that is fighting for relevance with the SEC and the Big 10 has a crown jewel.
What is that old saying? Help me, help you.
Yep.
That was what, Jerry Maguire, wasn't it?
Show me the money.
Yep. So money talks, and if Colorado and they're trying to bank on Deion Sanders. Now, if Deion Sanders blows it out of the water, and I think there's a poll out there that says that Colorado has like an X amount of percentage at a chance at winning the national championship. Now, if Deion Sanders does something incredible and they go 12-0 and they win the Pac-12 and they go to one of the New Year's Six or the national championship, then hey, that was a good bet. And Big 12 is going to say, all right, here you go. Here's the money. Give us what we want. We'll help you if you help us. But if Deion Sanders is a toilet bowl and they go, heck, even if they go 0-12, they're going to go, haha, no.
If Colorado, who, let me be clear, will not win the national championship. All right? Will not. Cannot, will not, ain't gonna. If Colorado wins the national championship, the Big 12 will be falling all over themselves to get them. They just will.
They'd be throwing their underwear at them. Please.
Yep, that's exactly correct. Here's what I think could force the Big 12 to make a quicker move. If Colorado starts to thrive, let's say that Colorado opens their season 6-0, 7-0, 8-0. They start racking up the dubs. My question here is going to be, knowing that the conversation is open, they've got TCU out of the gate. They've got Matt Rule in Nebraska in week 2. The Nebraska fans are excited right now. They got Colorado State week 3 in a rivalry game. Then they got Oregon. That's a team that's looking to move to the Big Ten. They've got USC, the California-based one, in week 5. Then they got Arizona State. That's a nationally viewed program. Then they got Stanford. Then they got UCLA, another Big Ten departure. Oregon State, DJ Uiagalelei. Then they got Arizona. Then they got Washington State. Then they got Utah. This is not an easy schedule for the Buffs this year. If Dion, let's not go perfection. Let's say Dion goes 10-2 this year. Sure, let's roll with that. Goes 10-2. Now all of a sudden everybody goes, uh-oh, Colorado's for real. If you're the Big 12, what's the nightmare scenario there? While you were holding off on signing them because you wanted to see if they brought substance to the table. Bring. Hey, Colorado, this is Tony Petitti from the Big Ten. You know, we got USC and UCLA coming on board in just a couple of years. You guys be interested in joining up too? We would love to have a Midwestern team, right? Because not only do you bring in Colorado, who is 10-2 and making noise, and everybody's going, oh, crap, maybe Dion does got it, right? But on top of that, you add another team in that little triangle right there, and now one of the big questions about SC and UCLA moving over to the Big Ten is what? Travel, rivalries, etc. Is there any rivalries between the Big Ten outside of USC, Ohio State, an old school Rose Bowl rivalry? No. USC and UCLA are a rival. USC and Ohio State are a rivalry. Maybe you could say USC and Michigan are a rival because of the Rose Bowl ties. But none of the other Big Ten teams are like Rose Bowl mainstays that met USC a bunch back in the glory days. So it's a lot of non-rivalries. But if I add Colorado in there, and Colorado's good, bang, now I got a 3-way rivalry out on the West Coast and in the Rockies that I can have a little love triangle going on every year. And then down the road, I add Oregon and Washington, and bang, now I got a solid slate of teams around the West Coast. So the Big 12's got to be careful here. Because if they decide to wait to see if Dion's good to pull the trigger, and then the Buffs go out there, go 10-2, return to national prominence, and it is an absolute shocker of a turnaround, could the Big Ten come calling? The point is, everybody's going to wait at least a little to see what is done by the Buffs. But somebody's got to pull the trigger. And once Colorado moves, because at this point I'm relatively convinced that they are the next school to jump to a new conference. Once Colorado pulls the trigger on a move, everybody else starts to scramble. If it's the Big 12, then the Big 10 is going to start looking back out towards the Rockies, back towards the Midwest, and go, all right, who else? Who else can we pilfer? If it's the Big 10, the Big 12 now has to make a move because they're getting outpaced and they just lost, which should have been which should have been an invite and what was an offer from that school. And everybody's going to look and go, uh-oh, the Big 12 screwed the pooch. Could have had this team. Could have had a contender. Could have had a very good Dion team, but not. I'm going to say I'm not convinced Deion Sanders is going to be special. I'm not. You know what I get? I get Willie Taggart vibes out of Dion. A guy who gets a lot of talent to come play for him because all the players love the dude. When Willie Taggart showed up, I was broadcasting in Destin, Florida. We were the flagship station of the Knowles in the Destin, Pensacola, Fort Walton Beach area. I was very excited about Willie Taggart. And I was excited about Willie Taggart because of how in the players were. The recruiting classes were good. The players we interviewed and talked to on the program were all excited. They love that culture. They came out. They hit that swag surf on game 1 against the Miami Hurricanes on Labor Day. I'll never forget that game because everybody that was a Knoll fan in the Panhandle was like, yo, this team is about to hit it. Look how hyped they are. And then Miami boat raced them by like 35 in that game, and it was never the same vibe.
Well, remember, there is a thing that's called too much of a good thing.
Yeah, it was just Willie Taggart knew how to culture build. I'm going to give him credit where it's due. Knew how to culture build. Doesn't make it a great culture, right? He did a great job culture building in Tallahassee, but then it came time to play football. And Willie Taggart was having circles coached around him by mid-tier coaches in the ACC, right? I get the same vibes from Dion. A guy that everybody wants to be around, whose culture built well, a guy that everybody's like, yo, this guy's hype. Love this guy. Want to be around this guy. But I just don't know if he can X's and O's. And if he can X's and O's, Lincoln Riley's going to beat him by 45. And all the win will be out of those sales. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we got 2 championship series taking place right now. Lord Stanley's Cup is up for grab. The Golden Knights grab a 1-0 lead at home. Can they get it to 2? What did we learn from game 1? I'll tell you that. And last night, game 2 in Denver. Jokic puts up 41, and it was not close to enough. What the hell happened to Denver? Michael Malone's got an answer. We'll play some audio from the post-gamers when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Correct, which is why anybody betting you're going to die, like Colorado, how are they listed at they're like plus 1,200 to win a natty? That's stupid. No. I know. I would bet minus 20,000 that they do not. No chance.
Colorado goes like a 6 or 7 win team. I'm gonna go the rest of it. I'll put
Yep.
a minute in there.
You're good. All right, guys, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, dudes and dudettes, thanks for hanging out. We back.
Fan upstate. This is Brandon. How can I help you? Yes, he is. All right, what's your name? Rick, where are you calling from? All right, and what do you want to talk to him about?
We will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898.
All right, we're on a commercial break. I'm going to put you in a brief hold, and we'll get back. We'll get right to you. Okay, bud? Thank you, sir. All right, you got Rick from Greer. He wants to talk Braves and other sports with you.
10-4.
Look, I agree with Dabo about wanting what's best for the sport, but you are not going to win in this sport.
So there's an article that was published last year about Colorado State and the Big 10 and Big 12, and they said that one of the big moves for Colorado would be, for Colorado State, is if Colorado were to move to the Big 12, Colorado State would get an invite. They want to take the big brother everywhere they go.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a holdup in a couple of different places.
Because they've got, they have that rival going on. They want to keep the rival going. Colorado State, but again, it all depends on whether or not Colorado shows out.
There's nothing worse than coming home from a hot day to find out that your AC unit isn't working. When this happens, you need an HVAC company you can trust. A company like Priority Heating and Air. Your HVAC specialist will give your system a thorough checkup. And if you need a new unit, Priority Heating and Air is a proud distributor of the Coleman line of HVAC systems. So keep your family or business cool this summer and give Priority Heating and Air a call today at 591-1847 or find them online at PriorityHeatingandAirHVAC.com.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Sucks.
This is Steve from East Little Lake, a podcast about falling in love with music. I started a non-profit music school about 20 years ago called the Silver Lake Conservatory of Music. The reason that I started doing this podcast was music education. I'll be speaking with Rick Group, Thundercat, Stuart Copeland,
Thundercats.
I heard they're doing a remake of it.
Oh, man.
It's gonna be a live action.
You don't have to convince me.
14 seconds, sir. Remember, it's Rick from Greer.
All right, I want to get a little NBA and NHL playoffs, finals breakdown in here, and we'll do that in a minute. But before we do, let me get Rick from Greer in here real quick. Talk a little Braves ball as the Bravos went out to Arizona, took 2 of 3 away from the NL West, and until yesterday, the NL record trending Arizona Diamondbacks. Rick, welcome back to the show, big fella. Good to have you.
Thank you, Rob. I got 3 things to talk about.
Fire away, buddy.
The Braves looked better against Arizona, and some unlikely player hit a grand slam last night, and it made my night, okay? Number 2, I talked to a national show the other day, DA, and guess who was the producer?
Who's
Carlos.
that? Yeah, Carlos with a K, who, by the way, he will be hosting the show on Friday. I will be out on Friday, so Carlos with a K will be here.
Love him. And is Mark still your boss? Not Mark Ryan, but the other Mark?
Hendricks, yes.
I know Mark, and he needs to put Carlos somehow on your lineup, because that would be 3 of the best I've ever seen. You, Mark, and Carlos. I mean, do it. Are you listening to me, Mark? Do it.
Carlos, good dude, man. Good dude. Yeah, Eddie Rosario with the grand slam last night. 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, bases juiced, Braves down a run and desperate for a dub. And Eddie decided to play hero ball. What a moment. That actually offset, Rick, how furious I was with Marcell Ozuna, who hit a 415-foot single because he decided to showboat. Listen, I got no problem with you watching a moonshot when you hit one, but if you don't know for a fact it is gone, get your ass on the base path, man.
I got problems with it too. Number 3, I went by Midtown and I had them meet in 3.
Solid, right?
I'm glad you do commercials for them because I love. Me and Michael Stackus are close. I love Michael's food. It's got it be. Midtown has it be. Midtown has that.
You have just started a rivalry between Thomas and Stacks that is never going to end.
When I see him next time I duck in, he's going to serve me. You know what? But I just want to say those 3 things. I love your show, and I can't wait for September. Are you going to be with the Burns Rebels again?
That, as of today, that is the plan, my guy. It is.
Good, because I just talked to Coach, and he said they're loaded this year.
Yeah, they're going to be.
Have you talked to them? They're loaded.
Yeah.
They're good.
Burns is going to be good. Rick, good to talk to you, big dog. Appreciate you. Thanks for checking in, my guy. Yeah, should be back on the call on Burns football this year. Cannot wait. Looking forward to it. They are going to be good this year, dude. Real good this year. Yeah, good win for Atlanta on the road out at Arizona. Needed that one. And, so we did Bet for the Cycle, my nationally syndicated gambling program, alongside Cody Decker and Hayton Ass Mario this weekend, where Hayton Ass Mario had to finally chow down on Da Bomb Sauce, and it's about as hilarious as you would expect it to be. I'm going to post a video of that later on today. Anyway, we were talking about Atlanta, and I was like, is it time to panic? And Decker was like, look, dude, if you drop the back end too, this was before the Braves game on Saturday. He said, if you drop the back end two against Arizona, I think the answer is yes, because I think it shows you the bats won't come through in the biggest spots. I mean, they're going to get you wins over bad teams. They're going to get you wins over the Royals. They're going to get you wins over the Nationals. But the big spots are where you have to prove yourself. You got to prove yourself in playoff caliber 3-game series. If you get swept by Arizona, time to panic. And then the Braves ended up winning back-to-back Saturday and Sunday. So good news. Real quick, let's talk some basketball and some hockey. What went wrong for the Nuggets last night? What went wrong for the Nuggets last night? 2 things. Number 1, when this series started, I told you what I loved about this series. And what I loved about this series was that you had 2 of the most unappreciated teams in the game. Miami is one of the least efficient offenses in the NBA, but they're so damn disciplined. They drill down. They do not give up easy buckets. On the flip side, the Denver Nuggets were frequently, despite having the best record in the NBA for the majority of the season, I think actually all of it, the Denver Nuggets were overlooked because they are the least flashy, really good team we've ever seen. There's no sizzle. It's all steak, man. And Nikola Jokic is the definition of that. He is a dude that just looks like a 7-foot, 1-inch tall plumber, right? He just looks like your dad's buddy Nick, who shows up at the barbecue and knows how to work a grill, but you never pick him to be on your pickup team, but somehow he's the best player on planet Earth right now. I said going into this game, into the series, I thought Denver's the better team, and I gave Denver the advantage because I don't think there's any spot where Miami outshines Denver. But I did not consider one, which is, what if it's the Heat that have more mental fortitude? What if it is the Heat that are more drilled down, more disciplined? Let me grab clip 1, if you don't mind here, Brandon. Michael Malone last night after the game was over, after Miami went in, knocked off the Nuggets 111-108. A game which, by the way, the Nuggets had a Jamal Murray 3 with time expiring that could have taken them to OT, but the Heat were ahead by like 13 with like 6 minutes left to play. It's not that the Nuggets couldn't get it done. It's that the Nuggets should have never needed to get it done. They let the Heat run out to a lead. Here's what Mike Malone said happened.
Now, let's talk about effort. I mean, this is the NBA Finals, and we're talking about effort. That's a huge concern of mine. You know, and you guys probably thought I was just making up some storyline after game one when I said we didn't play well. We didn't play well. And tonight, you know, that the starting lineup to start the game is 10-2 Miami. Start the third quarter, they scored 11 points in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And we just got, you know, we had guys out there that were just, whether feeling sorry for themselves for not making shots or thinking they can just turn it on or off. This is not the preseason. This is not the regular season. It's not round. This is the NBA Finals. And that to me is really, really perplexing, disappointing. And I asked the team, I asked our players, you guys tell me why we lost. And they knew the answer. Miami came in here and outworked us. And we were by far our least disciplined game of these 16 or 17 playoff games, whatever it is now. So many breakdowns. And they exploited every one of those breakdowns and scored. So if we're going to try to go down there and regain control of this series and get home court advantage back, we're going to have to outwork Miami, which we didn't do tonight. And our discipline is going to have to be off the charts.
That's it. That's it, dude. It's real simple. Denver broke down. Again, I think that's the first time they've broken down, right? Every other game that they have lost in these postseasons, which isn't many of them, but every other game, the one they gave back to LA being the prime example, it wasn't because the Nuggets broke down. It was because the other team played the best game of their postseason. That's it. It wasn't because Denver fell apart. It was because the other team played the best game in their postseason. Minnesota did it once. Phoenix did it twice. Excuse me, I said LA. I mean Phoenix. LA didn't do it at all. LA played their best ball of the postseason probably in game 3 of that series. Not even close, right? It just doesn't happen very often. They caught Miami's, I think, probably not best game of their postseason, right? I think the best game of their postseason probably came one of the last couple of games against the Knicks. Maybe Boston. Doesn't matter. Not Miami's best game. The problem is Denver lost their way for a minute there. They panicked. And that has not been, it's been the exact opposite for Denver this entire postseason run. It has been not panicking, not breaking down, being in the right spots at the right times. And last night they didn't. Last night, Eric Spoelstra showed you why he very well might be the best coach in the NBA right now that nobody talks about. Eric Spoelstra last night absolutely laid the law down. What did he do? Jamal Murray had a hot start to the game. And then what happened? He disappeared. Spo said, all right, we're going to let Nikola do his. We're going to take away Jamal Murray, and we're going to force role players to be the guy. And in games past for Denver, that's worked out for them. But last night, Miami clamped down on Jamal. They made Nikola Jokic be the primary ball distributor. They did not double him until he was underneath the rack, and they locked down on role players. And Denver didn't know what to do. Eric Spoelstra is the difference in this series. If you put most other coach, if you put I don't know, Boston's coach in charge of the Heat, they're down 2-0 and going back to Miami depressed. But Spo made adjustments. Spo got it right last night. But there's one other thing that you know what? Let me get clip 1A. Let me play this. I'll go a little bit late to play this one. Ramona Shelburne. I like Ramona Shelburne. I think she does a good job. But she was at that game last night. And she was asking Spoelstra about Nikola Jokic. Can you force him to be a one-dimensional player? And Spo let you know the attitude that he's rocking and why he's here.
Hey, Coach. Ramona Shelburne, ESPN. This is probably oversimplifying things, but sometimes when teams play against Jokic, you turn him into a scorer, you turn him into a passer, and he controls the game. He only had 4 assists tonight.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It's just that's the untrained eye that says something like that. This guy's an incredible player. Twice in 2 seasons, he's been the best player on this planet. You can't just say, oh, make him a scorer. That's not how they play. They have so many different actions that just get you compromised. We have to focus on what we do. We try to do things the hard way, and he requires you to do many things the hard way. He has our full respect.
Spo said, that's a ridiculous question. That opinion comes from the untrained eye. Got her. But he's right? You don't make Nikola Jokic a one-way player. You can throw 4 guys at that guy. He's getting to the rack. You can try to shut down every other player on the floor. He's going to get his 11 assists. That's what he does. That's not what Spo tried to do, right? I saw a lot of people this morning talk, they shut down. Nikola Jokic had, what was his final line? He ended up with 41 points last night, which in and of itself in an NBA Finals is just a hell of a showing, man. Just a hell of a showing. You're not going to make Nikola Jokic one-dimensional. Try your best. You can't do it. Let's see. Here's his final stat line. He ended up with 41 points, 11 boards, 4 assists. And, of course, the assist numbers are going to come down when he gets to 41. Jokic is a guy that's going to give you 28, 11, and 11, right? But he put up 41. Spo said, untrained eye, you're not going to make that guy a one-dimensional player. No, you're not. You can't do it. What you can do is you can take Jamal Murray away from him, who had 18 points of 7 and 15. He made like 5 buckets in the first quarter, and then he got like 2 more the rest of the ride. They took Jamal Murray away. They said, we're going to make you make role players step up. They had a couple of try. Gordon stepped up and played well. You had 11 out off of the bench from Brown. But it was never going to be enough. And then, oh, by the way, Jimmy Butler decided to be Jimmy Butler. 21 points, 7 of 19. Also had 9 assists last night. Open to the floor for everybody else. And that brings me to the attitude of these teams. Let me get clip 1C, if you don't mind here, Brandon. Jimmy Buckets, in his presser last night, was asked about the strength of this team, and he gave my favorite answer of the postseason.
You played on a lot of mentally tough teams over the course of your career. What is it about this specific team that makes them so resilient, especially in this run that you guys are on?
I just think nobody cares on our team. We're not worried about what anybody thinks. We're so focused in on what we do well and who we are as a group that at the end of the day, that's what we fall back on. Make or miss shots, we're going to be who we are because we're not worried about anybody else. It's how it's been all year long, and that's not going to change. So that's what I think it is. I think it's the I don't give a damn factor.
The I don't give a damn factor. Yes! Give me that Jimmy Butler all day, every day. What makes Miami Miami? The I don't give a damn factor. But he's not the only one. Let me get 1B. Shaq Daddy was talking to Gabe Vincent, who has been a breakout star for the Heat lately. Shaq asked Gabe Vincent, you guys are dogs. You've been told you're dogs. What made this win possible? And Gabe answered it like this.
Are you guys a little upset that you're not getting the respect that you deserve?
I speak for my whole team when I say we don't give a damn. We just want to get 4 wins. We don't give a damn about none of the other stuff.
I love this team, bro. I love this team. I love this finals. I love these 2 teams. I love this competition. Yo, this is going to go down. Watch. I'm gonna call the shot now. This is going to go down as the least watched NBA Finals of the past decade because there's no superstars in it, right? I mean, there are. Jokic is a star. Murray's a star. Buckets is a star. There's multiple stars, but none of them are like outlandish. They're not over the top. There's no LeBrons in here, right? There's no Durant's in here. There's none of the image-driven stars. It's just basketball players, dude. I love the Nuggets because they are blue-collar, lunch pail. They don't want the attention. They want to come out. They want to play disciplined basketball. They want to beat you, and they want to make it as boring as hell when they do. And then on the flip side, there's the Miami Heat, who are much the same way, but they want you to know they don't give a damn what you think. That's my favorite kind of basketball. Favorite kind. I don't need listen, I don't get mad at dudes who show up to the arena in big stupid outfits, selling tennis shoes, tweeting during games, hitting themselves up with burner accounts about how amazing they are. I don't care about any of that. If you're a baller, you're a baller. And if you're a baller, go ball like Nikola Jokic does. I love these teams, and I love this series. I love Denver because they're blue collar. They put their heads down. They go to work. And now I love the Miami Heat. I mean, I liked the Miami Heat, but now I love them because every player who got interviewed last night, when they got told, hey, you're getting no respect here, how do you feel about it? Every one of them said, we don't give a damn. And I love that kind of basketball. Let's take a break. Come back. We'll wrap this show up. It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. Oh, man.
Oh, man. Good show.
Yeah, this one went pretty well. I'm not mad about it. Hey, you guys on the stream field, you guys enjoy the show today? I feel like we killed it. How many shows do you get comparing a college football team to naked social media influencers and sugar daddies? Not often.
You can host the best backyard barbecue. And find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again. Somebody has to do something. Well, someone did. That's
That's why I use Upside. Upside, what's that? It's a free app that pays you.
Are we doing the Anthony Rendon hand interaction?
Nah,
No.
I'll save that for tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're done with the audio.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. That's code GOLF. Use code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill up. If you're hiring, it can feel like trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. Let Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs. See why 4 out of 5 employers who post the job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Now try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/FREE. This can't keep your loved ones protected from pests. 15 seconds. Raid can. For 60 years, Raid scientists have worked to protect people around the world, including the ones you love most. Raid. Protection for all.
This afternoon, possible severe thunderstorms with a high of 82.
Weather brought to you by Twisted Tea. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Made with real blue tea and 5% kick of alcohol. Look for the bright yellow cans in store. Twisted Tea. Keep it twisted.
Just about time to lay this bad boy to bed, boys and girls. Welcome back. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. We are going to go Carolina Panther heavy tomorrow. I did not expect for the college football expansion discussion to take as long as it did, but you guys had some great input on the text line, which you can still sneak a message in here at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air, FAN, F-A-N. Or you can jump in here last minute at 844-326-3663. But I did want to get to this before we call it a day. I, ladies and gentlemen, remain a hopeless romantic when it comes to the sport of baseball. There's just something special about baseball. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because it is the sport that most of us start with. You know, most of us start with t-ball and soccer. I don't know if it is because it has been a sport that is probably the most easily accessible when it comes as a kid to, like, I want to go see a game. All right, well, baseball plays for 14 out of every 12 months. And there's a baseball stadium within 40 minutes of everyone in America. I don't know why it is that baseball is the sport that I remain the most romantic about. I will acknowledge that despite the fact that baseball pays me more than any other sport does right now to talk about it. I don't know why. It's not like I have the most passion about baseball, but it is the sport I'm most romantic about. But I think it is because baseball is the sport that it just has the best stories, right? Just baseball stories about guys who came from nowhere, overcame adversity, lived in the back of their car. They were homeless. They were sharing an apartment with 12 other teammates. They were making $6 a game in the minors. I don't know. I just think it has the best stories. And yesterday, it told another one. Liam Hendriks made his return to baseball about a week ago. Liam Hendriks, for those of you who don't know, had to walk away from baseball when he was diagnosed with cancer. He got diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He had to step away, and there were questions about whether he'd make it back. Well, he made it back about a week ago, made his return in a relief role. He was in Chicago. He plays for the White Sox, and the stadium went bananas, B-A-N-A-N-A-S, over him. And that's great. But then he got back in the win column in game number 2. The White Sox closer pitched a scoreless ninth in a tie against the Tigers in his return, facing a 1-0 pitch with the bases loaded. Jake Berger was on the bump for the White Sox, and what did he do? Berger launched it into low Earth orbit for a walk-off grand slam in a 6-2 White Sox win that Liam Hendricks went 3 innings, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk, and was credited with the dub. Less than a week and a half after returning from cancer, Liam Hendricks told a freaking story, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is why baseball is the friggin' best. Y'all, that's it for us. We done. We out. You got Jim Rome coming up to you next. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel are here for Offsides at 3. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your afternoon. Thursday, we'll be live on remote at Thornblade for day 1 of the BMW Pro-Am. Looking forward to that. I will be out Friday because I will be drinking whiskey and watching golf at the BMW Pro-Am. My life is good. Have a lovely rest of your day. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. Thanks for listening. You're all incredible people. Have a great rest of your Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. All right, dudes and dudettes, thank you guys so much for hanging out. I hope you enjoyed the show. We had a good one. I felt like today was a good one. Thank you guys for hanging out. Women's College World Series starts in 5 minutes. If you don't have a TV in front of you for that, you're doing it wrong. Florida and Texas Tech start up in 5 minutes as well. Winner of that moves on to the Super Regional. If it's Florida, the Gamecocks go to Gainesville. If it's Texas Tech, the Red Raiders visit Columbia, so that's a big one. Thank you all for hanging out. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a lovely rest of your day, and goodbye.